Confidential communication throughout history has been influenced greatly by encrypted messages. The Romans used sticks to encrypt messages in the past. This was very impractical and easy to decrypt. The Enigma machine played a key role in the Second World War because it was easy to distribute while still being nearly impossible to decrypt, even if a machine was captured. The Enigma encryption cipher machine was by far the most unbreakable encryption machine of its time. In World War I, the Germans faced defeat because their encryption system was easily broken and their messages were discovered. The Germans first got the concept of the Enigma machine from the Polish. Since the Polish didn't have a large army, they needed a good encryption system to keep their enemies blind to their intentions. The Enigma machine can be seen at many locations across the world, including the Spy Museum in Washington, D.C., the National Cryptography Museum throughout Germany, and in Belgium. Fortunately, there was a group of British codebreakers in a country house in Bletchley Park. One of them is the famous Alan Turing. Inside the box, the system is built around three physical rotors. Each takes in a letter and outputs it as a different one. That letter passes through all three rotors, bounces off a reflector at the end, and passes back through all three rotors in the other direction. The machine can hold three rotors, but they had a total of 7 that they could switch out at their pleasure to keep the cipher secure. The signal from the keyboard went through the plug board and then around into the rotors, then finally lit up a new letter on the keyboard. As far as we know, only 318 machines still exist today. Every U-boat, dreadnought, and general had a machine, resulting in over 1,000 total Enigma machines. The Enigmas were in use from the mid-1920s to the near end of World War II. Although the creator of the Enigma is greatly debated, recent scientific evidence shows that the creator is indeed Arthur Scherbius. The Enigma machine was changed many times, but some of the most important changes were in 1938, when 2 extra rotors were added, and in 1942, an Enigma machine was released for U-boat traffic. The Enigma machine was used to send confidential messages for commercial, diplomatic, or secure messages during combat. During the invasion of Norway, the British used cracked Enigma codes to sink 9 German ships. During the Battle of Britain, because of the cracked Enigma codes, Britain shot down hundreds of German planes. During the Battle of the Atlantic, German submarines sunk 3,500 merchant ships. The Kriegsmarine had 1,162 U-boats and managed to communicate with them using the Enigma. During Case Yellow and the invasion of France, the Allies were caught by surprise, partly because of the Enigma. With the Enigma, the German Navy managed to completely destroy the Russian Baltic Fleet using surprise attacks. Thanks to changing the Enigma codes, the Germans managed to throw off the British for several days, causing mass panic. The development of the Enigma led to the first modern computer. As we all know by now, the Enigma was almost impossible to crack unless the rotors and plug boards stayed the same. But the problem is, the Enigma relied on humans to complete this task. Humans cannot be perfect and make mistakes. Just 2 days without changing the rotors and plug board can change the course of the war. Now back to Alan Turing and his group of codebreakers. Using intelligence provided by the Poles, Turing set about cracking the Enigma messages with his own computer. His methods were based on the assumption that each message contained a crib, a known piece of German plain text at a familiar point in the message. Another clue was the Enigma's inability to code a letter as itself. An X could never be an X. That way, the encrypted message could be lined up with the crib until no letter lined up as itself. But even with all this information, there were too many possible combinations to crack in just one day, as the rotors and plugs changed daily. They had gotten one step closer to cracking this monster with an extraordinary invention: the bomb. Essentially, the Turing bomb was an electromechanical machine comprised of the equivalent of 36 different Enigma machines. each one containing the exact internal wiring of the German counterpart. The bombs were 7 feet wide, 6 feet, and 6 inches tall, and weighed a ton. Literally. They had 12 miles of wiring and 97,000 different parts. Once the machine is switched on, each of the rotors move at a rate mimicking the Enigma itself, checking on approximately 1,700 possible combinations until it finds a match. At the end of the war, the bomb cracked the Enigma. In World War II, the Enigma machine was a key factor in deciding the outcome of the war. Some historians say that the breaking of the Enigma machine code altered the outcome of the war. The Enigma machine was a huge leap towards encryption technologies, which are much more advanced in present day. Although at the start of the war, the Enigma machine was invulnerable, midway through it was cracked, and in the end it catapulted the world into the computer age. Even though it was difficult to crack and there was an error on the German part, tens of thousands, if not hundreds of thousands of lives were saved from breaking the code. Breaking the Enigma code was one of the most strategically important events of World War II.